Okay, so a day in the life of a podcaster, an interventionist, and a recovery coach. How does it work in the life of Pej, aka Peji? That's me. So my days are pretty interesting. I've been working with a business coach lately so that he can help me more with organization of everything because I've got so much that goes on. And I've got a producer now for this podcast. I've been a podcaster for a couple of years. I was on this podcast originally called The Sober Grind because I'm a sober man, and it was with a guy named Austin. And then I went on to another podcast named Peji's Recovery Corner. And more recently, we've decided to rebrand and rename it. And now it's going to be called Primary Purpose with Pej. Should be coming out here in 2025, right in the beginning of it. But it's really interesting. Like, my days consist of basically taking lots of phone calls from lots of different people from all walks of life across the United States and sometimes across the world that are either looking for help with their loved one, help with their own addiction, sometimes tips, sometimes actually bringing me out to try to help them help their loved one, sometimes getting hired to go into some of the most sordid spots, everything from nice homes to homeless encampments to anything that will entail some kind of addict or alcoholic that's struggling or suffering and not really even knowing that they are. And my job is to go and try to help that person figure out that their life isn't working for them and that I'm here to try to help. So I'm always working on cases. I always have different people that I'm working on helping to find what they need to find in their life, whether it is to get sober, whether it is to be in some kind of recovery from some kind of affliction that they were caught up in before. And then on top of that, in the whole mix of that, podcasting, interviewing, that's fun. That's really great. But coaching, like when it comes to coaching, once I actually have somebody that we've helped get the help that they need, if they needed to go to rehab or something like that, once they come with a different mindset, then sitting down and being able to talk with them, whether it be right in front of me. Sometimes my clients are sitting right in front of me and we get to work on their recovery process. And sometimes we do it on Zoom if they're out of state or out of country. But I will sit with them and we do lots of stuff, a lot of character building, a lot of reality checking, a lot of accountability, learning about themselves, how to manage money, how to manage emotions, how to manage life, how to manage relationships, lots of different stuff that it's everything that was done for me when I was new as a person in recovery. And, I've learned to develop my own style, not just from things that I've learned from my mentors or from teachers or from, certifications and things like that, but more be able to be authentic with the way that I come off and how I help people and let people find themselves within themselves, right? Rather than me tell them how they need to find themselves. Sometimes I'll challenge people, but that's only because I think we grow is when people put us to the test and really look at things through a scope of goal setting and building affirmations within ourselves, not just by saying them to ourselves, but actually making sure that we have to do certain things to get certain things, right? Like if I really want success in the workplace as a sober person or a person in recovery, I'm going to need to do things that put me on the path of success. If I'm really going to claim that I'm in recovery, what am I doing for my recovery? Like, how active am I in community? How active am I with people one-on-one? Do I actually look outside of myself to try to be of service to people? Things like that. And then also in relationships, like a lot of times people that are in recovery get in relationships that could turn out to be very unhealthy. I'm one of them. I got into some relationships that were eye-openers. It wasn't just us pointing out each other's glaring defects of character, but also what do I need to do within myself to change myself and not become so reactionary and not lose it and get all angry because I don't agree with them in something. So, I think a lot of times everything is a learning experience, both from the one that's being coached to the one who's doing the coaching. The dogs are seeing a squirrel. Yeah. So in a nutshell, like my days are always busy. Like there's always some kind of activity going on. There's always a phone call to be taken. There's always a place to be at, whether it's going to my recovery homes and sitting with the guys or the girls and having some kind of like a peer mentoring group, like a pep talk, like just being able to let people know that I was once in their shoes and that positivity must flow within for them to be able to get to where they need to get to. What I'm seeing more and more of for a lot of the people that come into our homes is they've already burned it to the ground. They've lost everything. They don't have a car. They don't have money. They don't have jobs. Most importantly, they don't have recovery. So for a guy like me that's a coach and just a person that tries to intervene on somebody's life to show them their reality, I came into sobriety with nothing. I had lost everything. And I don't mean everything material. That was a given, but lost the trust of my family. So I'm all about rebuilding relationships with family members or spouses or boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, or even with brothers, sisters, et cetera, but also I'm about rebuilding and recreating your own life because that's what I got to do for myself. I'm really huge on people becoming educated. I'm really huge on people getting get-well jobs, but not making that their regular job, getting out of their comfort zone and eventually getting a better job. And I think through education, a lot of times people can do that. That's why I'm really happy and stoked that I had people that were my greatest mentors that brought me into the path of recovery and showed me how I need to learn to believe in myself, encouraged me to go to school, sometimes demanded I go to school. And by doing that, I got to go and be amongst other people in school and learn, how to really develop a certain trade for myself. It was drug and alcohol counseling at first. It later on became doing interventions and doing tons of coaching and just being able to work with people and help people completely. So that's what my days usually look like. Never a dull moment.